Today, AIF is born, the International Footballers Association. On my right hand, I have Álvaro Díaz, who is the president of the Mexican Association of Footballers, the General Secretary of AIF, Lucien Balloni. He's the president of the Swiss Union, and he is also the second vice president of AIF. And then we have Reinaldo Martorell on my far left. He's the first vice president of AIF and the president of the Professional Athletes Union of Sao Paulo in Brazil. AIF has over 30,000 men and women footballers. So we are the founders. We represent over 30,000 active footballers, men and women. And so now we're creating a new model, a model that is looking to protect the footballers' rights. We want to offer transparency and direct dialogue with FIFA, the CAF, with CONMEBOL, CONCACAF, with the European Union, with all these stakeholders that are the decision makers. We have realized that footballers today are losing power, they're losing rights, and they're also losing guarantees. This union is going to really fight to have a guarantee fund from the FIFA, where many of our male and female footballers, when they don't get paid by their clubs in different countries, I'm not just talking about Europe, Africa, America, North America and Asia, and people who now unfortunately are suffering negative things because, as you know, they move from country to country, and a lot of clubs have the same problem related to non-payment of their wages, and we want this guarantee to be continued. So this union is going to work very close to them, and the word closeness, transparency, and the word rights are going to be the main pillars of AIF, this new union. As I've already said, what is important for this union is that the players in different countries have collective bargaining agreements. Many of the founders who are sitting here with me today, in their countries, we do have collective bargaining agreements. We have chambers for disputes. We can try and negotiate and to be present and provide a voice to these footballers, and so that they can have and enjoy their rights. But as we've said today, footballers in many different areas, and my colleagues here today will be more specific about different things. So I think the voice of footballers at the moment is as if it's been turned off. The people who are really important in the world of football, i.e. footballers, without footballers there would be no football. And it seems that they're in the background. They have no possibility of being able to speak up, to make decisions. And this is what our leadership is going to try to do. The political part is very important for our union, but this fight for the footballers is the most important because, as we've said, money is not important for us. The most important thing for us is not the institutional part, but it's the guarantees and the rights that all footballers all over the world should have, wherever they were born. A colleague should have the same rights, the same circumstances as the people here in Europe. So the same rights, if you're born in any European country, the competition should be the same for everyone. When we talk about competitions, we've had a case here in Spain where, for example, the Spanish National League wanted to play a match outside our territory, which in this case was Miami. We understand that footballers, and this is just an example, just so that you're very clear about what we want to do. So we were here and we offered a gesture to make our claims because we thought that footballers should be informed and that we should be part of the decision making, and that people count on us for decisions. And we think this is a true example where footballers today are not where they should be. So this is why I think that the essence of all of us here in this new union will be fighting and will be working close with the male and female footballers all over the world. Álvaro, would you like to have the floor so you can explain a little bit more? Microphone, please. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in Spain, because for us as Mexicans, we always call this the homeland. It's a true honor to be in this new era of international football. This is a historical moment. AIF, which is the International Football Association. I'm here together with important people from unions, from leaders, in this case from Switzerland, from Brazil, and of course from Spain. And David has been leading us, and we're very grateful for offering us to be here. We want to talk a little bit about women's football, which is one of the main pillars of our association. We know what women's football means all over the world. Today we're making a big step forward in the history of sport. The International Football Association, AIF, has been born, an independent association with a very clear idea, the growth of football, and especially for women's football. And it should go hand in hand with fair conditions for the women footballers. Women's football over the last few years has experienced an important growth. Their visibility, the investment and the global interest has really grown, and these young girls dream about becoming professional footballers. This progress has to be recognized and cannot be doubted, but also it's important to highlight that part of this growth hasn't been even. There are big gaps between leagues, countries and clubs. Many women footballers in certain parts of the country have conditions that are not corresponding to the football growth. Lack of national security, they have limited access to to doctors, and they don't have the right conditions for a true profession. For example, maternity leave. Maternity is still a big challenge in lots of parts of the world. No female player should have to decide between a professional or a personal life. And I can give an example between Mexico, United States and Spain, where women do have rights, and a part of their regulations, these conditions are included. But in women's football, we're enjoyed in these countries, but we know in lots of Central American countries, South American countries, African countries do not have these rules that protect them. And they have to decide to be a mother or to be a professional player. So a lot of young women footballers don't have information about their rights, and therefore they're in a very vulnerable position. Information shouldn't be a privilege, it should be essential. We know that in lots of countries, there's lots of football all over the world where women's footballers do not have a contract, and if they get paid in cash, and also they made to see that it's a privilege to be playing for them, but they don't get really anything. So the AIF is started with a clear aim to be a bridge between the women players and institutions, to listen, to accompany these players, and to offer certain rules and regulations that will support them. Without these conditions, we'll not get sustainable development. Global football and the rights for those who play football should be the same. We work on an international level to share good practices, to build up common standards, and to reduce the lack of equality that exists. And so we want to progress towards a standardization of conditions globally to guarantee the basic rights for all female players and to promote their participation in the decisions that will have an impact on their careers. AIF, we're not here to contest, we're here to build clearly, firmly, and with a true global vision. The growth of women's football cannot just be measured by the viewerships or investments. They should be reflecting the quality of these women footballers. There are studies on an international level that say that as of 2030, women's football is going to be one of the 5 most important sports. And so for the AIF, this is a fundamental pillar, i.e. women's footballers. I'm very thankful for you to being here today, and I will now pass the floor to another colleague. Can you hear me? It's a great honor to be here today with my colleagues. And as David has said, and Aldo said, this is a very special day for footballers all over the world. I'm going to talk a little bit about the legal side. We are sure that not all players have the knowledge of the fact that there are countries that where professional football doesn't exist. And if they're not professionals, they don't have rights, therefore. This is where this is something we're very worried about. To offer the guarantees of a work relationship is important. The sports system, that on many occasions is more important than the legal system, and always, despite FIFA, as a concept, the question that we cannot get use ordinary justice, the ordinary laws, the sports system always offers answers for the protection of players, like the national chambers to solve disputes. What is important is that the proposal is that we should all have a chamber to solve disputes, but we don't all have these specific chambers. So we're going to work on that to ensure that they do, so that the collective bargaining agreements can contemplate the rights of players, and we want to make sure they're effective and in all the unions, so that more unions can come and work to get this protection, and that all of us offer solidarity, and we will be working and exchanging information, experiences, and we will make AIF an institution that will be working to convince people that this is necessary to ensure that everyone in the world of football are stronger, that we have our rights, because otherwise, how we will get a good basis for football. We know that lots of players do not get paid. Lots of players do not get paid, or in different places around the world. I would even dare to say that the majority of the players are not paid, because there's an idea which is completely wrong about football all over the world. I've got experience in my country, and it seems we've got 40 teams, but in fact we've got around 800 teams. But the commercial rights, the commercial interests are focused on 40 teams. But the commercial interests all over the world are restricted to what? To what part of the world? We cannot forget that we have professional football in Asia, Africa, Latin America, South America, Central America. But not all of them have the possibility of being able to protect the players correctly. So our experience shows that we need to have a broader view to see what's going on in football all over the world. We need a global vision, but also we need to act effectively. Our proposal is based on that. We are fully aware that it's very difficult, but we're going to be facing up to this. But the challenges never, ever, ever will discourage us. We will always try and do what we have to do. So today this institution is born, and the association knows everything it has to do. And this institution knows what challenges lie ahead, knows the difficulties, but we also know that we will never stop representing footballers who want to be represented by us, because that's why we're here. Thank you for coming here today. We would like to greet all our colleagues, and we need exposure, and we're going to want to start strongly, and we want to generate a lot of good things. Thank you very much.
Yes, good morning. I speak in English, sorry, but that is what I can do here. We are doing a new union, and there is also a new vision. We want to be near the players. It's very important. We want to be very near to the players, and we want to protect the players. That are the two main goals, to protect the players, of course. And that means that we are near the players when it goes well, but especially when it does not go well. And as you know, every career comes to an end. Of course, the players not always think about it, but this is a very important step for every player, the end of the career. And we want to be near the player when this time comes, because there also mental health issues arise, because you are going to be not perhaps the star that you have been before, and you have to find a new job, you have to change your life completely. And there is where we want to help them, but the start of this help is not at the end of the career. Okay, we can help there too, but it starts during the career. We have to help the players to prepare the career after the career, during the career. And I think this is very important. We want to protect them, and of course our mission is also to give them always a voice at every table that is relevant for the players, especially employment issues and especially discussions with the football federations and all the international federations, of course. And then, of course, we want to protect them by helping them also when they have mental care issues, and also when we know that every player, every contract comes to an end. It's different than in the normal employment world. Contracts are terminated by a year, 2 year, whatever, but they are not undeterminated. And that means every contract of every player comes to an end. And we are there also with our training camp. We want to focus also on this help, that they can train with our teams of players without contract, and we will organize perhaps tournaments, international tournaments, to help them find a new job and to help them being in shape when they have the chance to play for a new team. And I think that is what we can say about mental health education.
Sí, bueno, creo que hemos dejado claro que este sindicato...
Yes, I think we've been very clear that women's football, legal issues, training, and also health are things that we're going to be dealing with very closely, because at the end of the day, the problems that we've seen for many years now, like the international match calendar, the pre-season matches, friendlies, we know that we have to make a big difference for the different continents, because unfortunately the circumstances of the things that happen in Africa don't tend to be the same as the ones in Europe, or they can be very different circumstances in South America and Asia. So it's true to say that we're very clear about what footballers need, both men and women, in all continents. We will be working close together with them to help them, but the health of footballers will be one of our top priorities of this union. The time between matches, the international match calendar, and the European part of this match calendar is very congested, and Africa, on the other hand, need to play more matches. So we all need to sit down and deal with these issues. We have to be present in that continent to see what is being looked for and what is being done. This union will work very closely with these footballers to listen to their requests. I think the fundamental pillars are these problems that we've talked about. I said we're going to be working very closely with that. We have trade unions here that are present and they're really helping us. And a lot of people are knocking on our door to join us. And here the founders, we want to present today this new trade unions because we know there's a need for us. There are lots of footballers who need help and there are lots of unions who need to represent these footballers. They're looking to find this help for these women and male footballers. Next steps, AIF, we're going to go to the World Cup. We're going to send a letter to represent all the entities and institutions that are important in the football world, like FIFA, the different confederations, the federations. We will send letters, obviously, to the different leagues in the European Union. Everything that covers the sports world globally, we will send them out. We will present ourselves to them, and after this presentation here today and with all these journalists here from all over the world, and we're very grateful for you coming here this morning. And I think this union, this International Football Association, will be explained today. Well, 2026, we will be at the World Cup. We will be at the FIFA Congress, which will be held at the end of April in Vancouver. And we will be looking for alliances and representations and the ability to look for solutions to the different problems that we need to solve. And we're really excited to have a lot more members. As we said, there are lots of unions who are waiting to join us, to join AIF, to help to make us stronger. And I think that we all have the same idea with. So, well, we're going to have a meeting in Mexico. We're not quite sure in which city yet. We will also talk about AIF to all members. We have the president of the Mexican Association of Footballers and Canada, United States and Mexico, where's the next World Cup. And we want to be where all our colleagues and footballers are. We hope it's going to be a party for everyone, but no one should forget our labour conditions because they are also very important. The sports side, obviously, is being supported by us, but I think our mentality, it means that they should practice sport in the right conditions, with the right labour conditions, with everything well organised so that there will be no problems. As far as we're concerned, I don't know if anybody would like to ask a question. We are open to any questions, should you have any. So now's the time to ask questions, and we will be delighted to answer. Good morning. This is a question for David Aganza. The presentation of this new association, FIFA has just issued a communique that directly attacks the president of this new association, saying that you're not looking for footballers' rights, but personal interests. So all of the people who are the founders are looking for personal interests. I don't know if you want to answer FIFPro, or what? Have you got anything to say about FIFPro? Well, I'm going to answer, because I have probably the most information, and also I think that communique, that press release, I'm not going to talk about politics, because I really don't think it's worthwhile. I've got too much work to do at AIF, and I think the essence of this union is to try and look for what was missing. I think today this association is starting with a lot of strength. We're not hiding any information. We're very transparent, and we've said this for a long time, that we will be offering this presentation. I'm very surprised that they've had a communique today. We're in Spain. We have well, I've said we've had the problem about the match in Miami, but I think a union should be worried about its members, the people So we're here to help people. I am not going to have a confrontation with FIFA. I've got lots of things to do. We all have lots of things to do. We haven't come here to fight. We're here to fight for footballers, male and female. We need to have direct dialogues with all the entities. We cannot have 2-3 years with full guarantees. In different countries, we need to have different committees or dispute chambers all over the world. Here we've got the mixed competition. We cannot allow our colleagues from lots of different countries, over 70-80% of the countries who are playing football do not have a collective bargaining agreement. They don't even have minimum rights. I am a country which is privileged. Spain is a very privileged country. We are a country with a very strong union because we've been going for many years now. But for a long time, we've been looking for these rights. We have founders here who are present today. They've had to leave for different reasons. But their workers were not recognized locally. All over the world, that's where we are. There are countries and players who will be playing in a World Cup next month where their labor conditions are not optimum. They're not good. So I think we need to think about this. We're here to present this. I thank FIFA for their communique, but I'm not going to get involved in any controversy. Yes, I would like to know, we are represented by 4 countries, but you said there's other countries who would like to join this association. I would like to know which countries are already part of this association. So which other unions are now members? Or which countries do you explain? Or what are the requirements they need? Because you said that there are a lot of other unions who would like to join. So as I say, which countries? How big are you now worldwide? Well, just remember that today we have the president here. We have people here today who are recognized in the football world. Today, we wanted to present the founders because we think this is something to do with institutional loyalty. The founders are the people who have created this platform, this new model that I already explained. And as I've said, there's a lot of people waiting to see what we're doing. There's a lot of Africans waiting. There are Europeans, South Americans and North Americans who are waiting to be able to join. We've waited until now. We've been very cautious because, first of all, we wanted to present this association. And as I've said, I would like to send all true, warm greetings to everyone who's watching us. We've had lots of conversations with countries that are here today. I can see the president of the Russian Union, like Georgian Union. There's unions in Africa who I think there's more than 15 or 20 unions who are really looking to see what was going to happen today so that they would now be able to have all the information to join. The minimum requirements, they know what they are on our webpage, which I would like to say that in Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, we have a webpage, which I think you have the address. And we've sent a lot of information to the media via that. And there you will be able to see the requirements to be able to join and to be able to contact this new association. Good morning. This is for any of you. I've got 2 questions, in fact. One is related to the fact, are you not worried about the fact there's going to be 2 unions? This could weaken the footballers' position because now there's going to be 2 unions, international unions. And when you talk to different federations, maybe each one can have footballers or members that belong to the 2 international unions. So how are you going to work that? And also you mentioned, and I think it's very interesting to deal with, and I think it's probably one of the, what is the FIFA structure? Apparently there are 2 justices in the world, one for men and one for football. So how can this union fight so that not just 26 people sitting around a table can decide on everyone's future? Well, yes, I'm grateful for your question because it's a very important question. If there is another international union, it's because there's space for another union. Just that. It's very simple. It's a democratic world, and when we're allowed to do so, and when we're in agreement with certain guidelines, especially here, we are working for new guidelines. So no worries about that. There's an invisible right in football, and people realize this, because normally a worker doesn't need to have a contract to be registered to be able to work. So he just leaves one employer and he goes to another employer. But in football, if you leave one club and you don't register your contract in a new club, then you can't work. So it's an invisible right. So the sports system prevents workers to change their employer. So the sports system we want to give more power to players, because they need to contemplate the rights of the workers. For example, to offer provisions when the players are going to play when it's hot or when it's cold, because the rights of the workers are related to their health. You have to contemplate certain issues, different issues. For example, when the contract comes to an end, so that you can transfer freely to another club, the invisible rights are important. And we're going to work with these players, because sometimes I've got experience in my country. The ordinary justice gives you a ruling which the sports system doesn't accept the ruling or the judgment, or if it under behind it, so that you cannot continue with the judgment and to make it effective. So therefore, the majority of the people do not understand this. They don't understand the difference between the legal system and the sports system. The legal system, let's say, the sports legal system, there's a difference. And this is why we're working with our experience, because we were players. We know the anguish of not getting paid. We know all the anguish of not, or to play or train on a bad pitch. This could affect our life. We know the anguish of when we have to stop playing football and look for a new profession. We know all about this. The majority of people do not realize, and they're not worried about that. So this is why we're here. So we want to ensure that everyone, at the end of the day, win. We want this to be a win-win situation, and to do that, we have to protect everyone. Grassroots, up to the top, we have to represent and protect all of them, because sometimes when football comes to an end, life comes to an end, but that shouldn't be so. And that is very involved with the sports legal system. And that's what we're going to work on a lot. Good morning. I'm from the German radio. I'm not that clear where, these calls, well, what you're talking about it, are you making a call to the legislators or to FIFA, which is like the Employers Association to a certain extent? And why the need for a second international union? Relations with FIFPro and FIFA were very bad. Do you think you'll now have more success with FIFA, for example? Well, I said earlier, we're looking for a new model, and dialogue with FIFA is essential. Dialogue with the Confederation is important if you want to help people nationally and internationally. We're looking at a global institution. In Spain, it's as if if our union didn't have a relationship with Javier Tebas, it would make no sense. if the union doesn't talk to the employers' association, doesn't come to agreement with them or with the Spanish Football Association, and if there was no connection when we're offering all these requirements for our players, it would make no sense at all. So I'd like to say again, we're here to work. We have direct conversations with FIFA and all the other confederations. I think we really know all the federations and confederations worldwide. We've been working in this world for many years, and I think we have sufficient strength to be able to fight. And based on all that, as my colleague has said, there is union freedom. We have the possibility to give a voice to a lot more people as they need it. I think that's our obligation, and for me and for us, it is the situation in the past was easy just to offer an opinion, but if you're not a majority, you haven't got any power. And it would be, well, maybe it would have been easier for us just to look nationally. We all have our problems. In Switzerland, Mexico, Brazil, Russia, Spain, any country, it would be easy just to look at our national problems, and we all have a lot. You know, the journalists here in Spain, I think you understand me. So why do we want to get involved in an international union? But I think it's an obligation, it's ethics. The people here who are representing this new Footballers Association, we're people based on values. We want this to grow. We want footballers. The only legacy you can leave in life is for people who come after you have better conditions than you had. Unfortunately, in the past, we suffered a lot because there were a lot of non-payment of wages. We had to go to countries where the conditions were not correct. And the only thing that we want, these four founders, all four of us, for these male and female footballers who are enjoying this wonderful profession, we want them to be able to have opinions, to have decent conditions, and they can be able to play football. A lot of people here love this football, and it's great to see the optimum conditions, and we want people to have the correct rest between matches. And we know that when people are going to play the World Cup, a lot of them will be tired, so we want to talk to FIFA, and we want to talk to the people who are the decision makers, so that the voice of footballers make them understand what we're asking for. You have to get started. The first time I was the president of AIF, the first thing I said to the president of the employer station, you've got to play football to be able to understand our side. Everything isn't based on business. Not everything is based on politics. Here, people who dress up to go and play when it's cold and when it's hot. It's us, the footballers. We're the ones who travel. We're the ones who get injured. We're the ones who score the goals, or maybe we don't. It's us, the footballers, and we need to be represented each time people talk about football in any committee meeting, in any federation, confederation, or at FIFA itself. So that is the objective of this union, and I truly believe we have the ability to do it, and we will have the power, because we're all going to join together a lot of unions to be able to help the male and female footballers who need it. Thank you. Hi. It's an interesting time because we've got the World Cup in the USA with a lot of concern about, well, things that are happening with Trump and Iran and the war. In this respect, the help you want to offer, for example, how can you help with FIFPro? And what about the players concerned and the facts concerned? How can you help for the World Cup that's going to be held in the United States?
Well, yeah. Okay. I think we already achieved in pre-discussion with FIFA. We already achieved that guarantee fund will probably come very soon. We are very confident for that. That will help all players that are not paid by the club and the bank, and the club went bankrupt. This is an important protection for the players, very vulnerable players that we can help a lot. And of course, we also have achieved already some fixed vacations for the players that must be implemented. And we were talking about 23 days or 24 days of rest after a tournament. And I think this, after the season and so on, I think these are very important steps we are going to achieve very soon. And I think it's not about FIFPro, it's about to protect the players.
¿Te has entendido?
Pienso que ese punto es
I think
importante un complemento.
it's important to add something.
Ustedes se dieron cuenta que
I don't know if you realize that in 2014 in Brazil,
para hidratación, que hasta que aquel momento no había.
so there was a stop. We worked for a year and a half before, that year before,
FIFA no quería para
this would happen because FIFA didn't want to have the water pause because it was very hot in Brazil, 32 and 33 degrees. FIFA didn't want to have this water break. And so now this has been formally accepted, but we're always worried about the health and the safety of the players. So be careful, don't worry, we will continue to defend these things. I wanted to ask David, you talked several times about FIFA, and last year there was a meeting with Infantino from some of the members of this new association. I'd like to know if this union is being sponsored by Infantino. Well, you've probably read FIFPro's press release. I'm sure that's what you're talking about. I know that message. That comes up a lot. I've heard it many times. When you're playing the political world, this is a message that FIFPro is sending out to say that this union is being sponsored by FIFA. I think people who know me, you know that the word independence in a union is fundamental. And I had the opportunity to tell you, if you can be with Luis Rubiales or with Javier Tebas, I think the independence of footballers would, if you weren't independent, it wouldn't be worthwhile. So I think this union will have maximum independence. Obviously, we have to work and we have to have a dialogue with FIFA, but we will have it with CAF, CONMEBOL, CONCACAF, and all the stakeholders, as it's our obligation. But honestly, people think that FIFA can promote something. Well, I think the athletes and the footballers, they're not stupid. They can't deceive us. The Spanish, the Brazilian models, the Mexican model, and the people who are knocking on our door, we are all independent, but we're very clear that we have to work closely to them. Loyalty is very important. The word loyalty is amongst ourselves and with the people who we negotiate with. And the world, as I've said, the fact that FIFA is behind us, that's impossible. I would like to do projects with FIFA. I would like to do lots of projects with the people who've got power in the football world. As I said before, footballers have to be part of everything. They have to be members of different committees, commissions, federations, like here in Spain. We've got 33, 34 votes in the Spanish federations to have power, because the clubs, you have the referees, we have the different parts, but the footballers need a voice, and they should be listened to, because there's millions of problems nationally, and there's lots of colleagues who every day have to deal with lots of different things, and the voice of the footballer becomes quieter. They understand, you have to understand the business and the sport, and as part of the sport, the footballer has to make decisions. They have to coordinate, and we all have to be one to ensure that the word to take unilateral decisions, because La Liga, La FIFA, they don't make a decision. No, we have to explain to them all the footballers' problems, and we will do this in the different confederations all over the world, or at the level of the International Labour Organization, or at the EU. I think people have to listen to footballers, and that voice is the one that today is not being listened to. Something else I want to add, which is key. Who does their work well? You're not worried about the others if you work well. And here we have a group of people want to work well. We're not going to be worried about who's attacking us. Time will tell. Any other questions? That's it. Yes, David, you talk about the problems, the current problems against the football world, politics, business, etc. I wanted to ask you about the situation of the World Cup that you were referring to a few moments ago, about Donald Trump's intention to expel Iran from the World Cup and include Italy due to all the, all the different prizes they've won. Well, this is a political issue. I think on the 30th, I will be meeting Gianni Infantino at the FIFA Congress. We'll talk about all these things. I think the political side has to be separated from the public side. And obviously, we're here to defend rights. I don't make the competition. But let me just give you some information related to the former question. We've had the Club World Cup. We have criticized this a lot, and FIFA would organize that. We have come up, we've met players at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with a lot of humidity. And there's certain things that need to be improved. So to do that, we have to talk to FIFA. Those conditions cannot ever be repeated at the Club World Cup. Cities where it's very hot can't be chosen. You can't play at different moments. Maybe you could play at that city, but at 9 o'clock in the evening. The economic, financial side is secondary, and the international match calendar, each one has to do their little bit. But then we have a World Cup where we have one calendar where a high percentage of players play, but these are players that come from the top clubs and the top national teams. But unfortunately, the people who have from countries that are not so strong, well, they have different matches, different calendars, and that is what we have to explain to FIFA. We have to explain the concerns of each place at each time, and decisions should be made. That's our obligations, and we need to fulfill that. Yes, I wanted to ask, well, the footballers' health, they have, there's so many competitions, they're overworked, and also all the kilometers they have to travel. So I wanted to ask you if you're going to try and do something like that. That's one of our main pillars. We've been fighting for this for a long time. I think each one locally in our different countries, we talk to the federations, we talk to the leagues. Obviously, it's an international match calendar. So it's one of the important points where we have to talk to FIFA, because we want the international match calendar to have more periods of rest so that all our colleagues or our footballers can rest, so that they have the strength, so that they don't have to play. Some of them have to play 64 matches. So in other countries, maybe like Africa or Asia, North and South America, I don't know exactly their cases, but I know in Europe, the players who play for the national team, well, for the Spanish national team, they will have to, well, in 70-plus countries, a lot of these footballers will go to the World Cup, especially as it's going to be held in July. It's going to be very hot. There's going to be a different humidity. We hope that they adapt very soon to that. But this is something that we have to talk about globally with FIFA, so that the next World Cup, which will be held here in Spain, Morocco and Portugal, so we hope that the conditions will be improved for this World Cup. And something else, I don't know if you're aware, of this, but an excess number of matches is directly related to commercial issues, commercial interest. Because the main teams play in so many competitions in parallel. 3 or 4, they play in parallel. But they're not that many. But we have the problem in Brazil. There are 4 or 5 or 6 teams that play in the Copa de Brazil in a tournament for the Libertadores Cup. They play in the Brazilian Cup. 4 major competitions that are played simultaneously. The others don't have matches all year round. So we have to work to strike a balance. People are claiming and this is always the case. People, when the sports results are not good, people make problems. But maybe if they're good results, people can play 150 matches a year. But my experience is that nobody complains about that. But we have to really look at this issue. As we say here, we have got experiences. We know what's happening. So we're always going to work to strike a balance. We can't just you need to really know what you're talking about before you start bringing up these issues. And how can we stop these economic interests? How can we tell a club that's winning $50 million, $40 million in a competition that lasts for 20 days, that they're not going to play in that competition? How can you tell them that? So that we know we've got lots of challenges. We're pretty aware of our challenges. So we need to strike a balance, and we're going to work to change and to protect the players within that context. Another question? Yes. You said earlier, when you were talking about Iran and Italy, and the players' rights and to have better conditions, but also the right of a player who went through the qualifications to play in the World Cup. So what is the position of AIF as the international union against the possibility of them inviting a national team that didn't qualify for the World Cup? And they are going to remove a national team that did qualify. Well, right. I think our communications in the future after today's presentation will be really focused on that, obviously. And the people who have to play in the World Cup have to have earned it on the pitch. So we're going to convey this to FIFA. Well, at least that's what we're believing, and let's see what they're going to be talking about, because there could be different opinions on this. There could be situations that maybe we don't know, but we have to negotiate this. So this is why I think the word dialogue is important. The word dialogue with all the different entities, and I think this union will has direct conversations with FIFA, and I think that's very important, because we need to have direct conversations and dialogues with all the different entities. I think that will really benefit the footballers, and that's why we're going to be available to them.
Please.
Yes, I think this is a very important point. We have not discussed it, but of course, we think about it. And of course, the World Cup for a player is the most important sporting event in his career. That is very clear. And we all know that there are very, very good players that never, ever can participate at the World Cup. And this is something very, not nice for these players. So we perhaps have to think about out of the box, allowing one team, that a selection of players from all over the world can be made that also participates in order to help these players that never with their country can qualify to participate. But this is something we would have to discuss, of course.
Si me permiten, para finalizar ya.
Well, just to bring this to an end, because I think we're over time, we're going to show you a video with some of the colleagues who wanted to be here today.
Soy Melanie Villeda. Juego en Cruz Azul de México.
Falando é o Viola, tetracampeão do mundo, ex-atleta profissional.
Soy Giri González y juego en Pumas, de México. Mi nombre es Dice Delgado, juego en Atlas FC, de México.
Soy Jared Borgetti, mundialista de Corea-Japón 2002 y Alemania 2006.
Soy Ashley López, jugadora de Atlas FC de México.
Meu nome é Edivaldo, sou ex-atleta profissional de futebol.
Fala, rapaziada, aqui quem fala é o Caio Mineiro, jogador da equipe Jacareí Futebol Clube.
Soy Carlos Moreno, portero y capitán del Club Pachuca de México.
Fala aí, galera da Associação Internacional Futebolística. Velho, vamos passando aqui, ó, para dar os parabéns, saúde e sucesso nessa nova incumbência aí na Espanha. Tamo junto, que possa ajudar todos os atletas profissionais aí, ex-atletas. É nóis.
Soy César Montes, jugador del Conjunto de Moscú.
Soy Viviana López, jugadora de Atlético de San Luis de México.
Salomón Martínez de los Pumas.
Yo soy Ana Paz, portera del Club Tijuana de México.
Mi nombre es Charlyn Corral, jugadora del Club Pachuca.
Mi nombre es Carla Nieto y juego en el Club Pachuca.
Soy Genty Robles y juego en el Club Pachuca.
Soy Roberto Alvarado, jugador de Chivas de México.
Ha llegado el momento de dar un paso al frente.
Hoy más que nunca.
Juntos caminamos unidos
con la Asociación Internacional de Futbolistas.
Yo soy Iker Casillas y soy AIF.
Hola, soy Tote y yo siempre con AIF.
Soy Bicho y yo apoyo a AIF.
Yo soy Felipe Melo, ex jugador de Almería, selección brasileña y soy AIF.
Soy Alarilla y estoy con AIF.
Soy Samara, jugadora del Deportivo Abanca y yo soy AIF.
Yo soy Paco Palencia, jugador mexicano. Quiero felicitar a toda la organización de AIF que está naciendo en este momento.
Soy Pisco y estoy con AIF.
Hola, soy María José Pérez y apoyo a la Asociación Internacional de Futbolistas.
Yo soy Roberto Carlos, ex jugador de la selección brasileña y estoy con AIF.
Hola, soy Diego Capel, jugador del Sevilla de la selección española y yo estoy con AIF.
I'm Simone Rapp and I support the New World Union for Professional Player AIF.
Here is Balon Brami, a former football player. I support the AIF. I think you guys are doing an amazing job and keep going. I'll see you soon.
Hola a todos, ¿cómo estáis? Soy Milene Domínguez, ex-futbolista brasileña, y estoy aquí para decir que apoyo mucho la Asociación Internacional de Futbolistas.
This is Jordi Quintilla, player from FC St. Gallen in Switzerland, and I support the AIF.
Soy Raquel, jugadora del Sevilla y soy AIF.
Sou Silas, ex-jogador da seleção brasileira, e estou passando aqui para parabenizar a criação da Asociación Internacional de Futbolistas.
Je suis Olivier Custodio et je suis AIF.
Soy Wendell Abrez y soy AIF.
Soy Fernando Hierro, ex capitán de la selección española y ex jugador del Real Madrid. Y nada, David, un abrazo muy grande y decirte que yo estoy con AIF. Soy Álvaro Morata y soy AIF.
Perfecto.
Well, thank you very much for coming.